as you all are here and gathered to the grand reopening and rededication ceremony for 1750 McAllister. I want to kick things off by just first introducing our Chief Executive Officer, Gail Gilman.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for being with us here today. Today is an historic moment for Community Housing Partnership as we have completed rehabilitation of the 99 units here at 1750 McAllister. So many people helped bring this project together, but the people I want to thank first and foremost are the residents of 1750 McAllister. For your patience, for your diligence of keeping us on our toes to make sure that we provided you a home that had your thoughts, your amenities, and what you thought would make a great home for you. I also want to thank the Western Addition community that welcomed Community Housing Partnership into its arms. We have a property at Broderick and Scott that we've been operating now for over 9 years, Untitled Apartments, and we were so happy to add this to our portfolio. I just want to thank a couple of other people before we get the program started. I also want to thank all the staff at Community Housing Partnership who worked on this, the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, the Housing Authority, Bank of America, who underwrote this program, Federal Home Loan Bank, Levy Design Partners, Fine Line Construction, who worked very hard to mitigate construction, Armando Valquez. I also want to thank David Schnur and Amy Chan, former staff of Community Housing Partnership, for all of their work. I'll be speaking a little later about why today also is important for other reasons, but it is my great privilege and honor to introduce someone who everyone in this room knows, I believe loves, and who understands what the value of a safe, stable home can do for your life. It is my honor to introduce the Honorable Mayor London N. Breed.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here today. And I am excited because we are doing exactly what our late mayor talked about, fulfilling old promises made to members of our community for so many years. I grew up just down the street in Plaza East. Many of you knew I grew up in public housing under some of the most challenging of circumstances, but also some of the most terrible conditions. Reverend Brown, you remember Plaza East, Reverend Davis, who baptized me, and Reverend Rachel Townsend from when you both were at First Union Baptist Church, because many of the people that I grew up with went to your churches in the community where we were dealing with, sadly, not just worship services, but far too many funerals, from lives lost, from hopelessness, from frustration, from despair. And so my life's work of working with the community for so many years had everything to do with changing what was normal for us and opening the doors to opportunity. So when I had an opportunity to serve on the Board of Supervisors, and I met with Mayor Ed Lee, and we talked about what my priorities would be as a then Supervisor, Breed, I said to him, he said, "What's your top three?" I said, public housing, public housing, public housing. Because as we move the city forward, as so many people enjoy the prosperity of what has developed over the years with the tech industry and all of these great things that San Francisco has to offer, we can't continue to leave our residents behind. The conditions that have existed since I lived there, the mold, the busted pipes, the messed up bathroom, the roaches. When you have had to live like that for over 20 years of your life, there is nothing that's going to be more important to you than changing the conditions of people who still, unfortunately, have to live like that. So I want to thank Mayor Ed Lee for supporting what I cared about, for helping to work with the Mayor's Office of Housing at the time under the direction of Olson Lee and now under the direction of Kate Hartley to bring RAD to the community. And we all know it was not easy. We had many meetings in this exact room where people were not necessarily comfortable. And that's why I and your now Supervisor, Vallie Brown, we showed up to those meetings to talk to the community, to hear the concerns, and to make sure that you knew your rent would not be impacted. Temporarily, as we had to do rehabilitation, you may be moved here or there, but ultimately, what happened to us in Plaza East, where they tore down 300 units and only built 200, there was no way we were going to let that happen to any other resident in San Francisco, not as long as I had the ability to work in a leadership role and to make that a reality. And so I am so happy to be here today. 97 units, completely rehabilitated. Thanks to not just working with the residents and working with Community Housing Partnership and working with the San Francisco Housing Authority and working with the Mayor's Office of Housing, it was working with the entire Western Addition community, because I wanted to make sure that they were actively engaged, whether they lived in public housing or not, that people were actively engaged in this process so that we could protect one another. And we did just that. I can't even believe how great this room looks right now compared to what it looked like before. And I am so happy about the courtyard and the chairs and just the paint on the walls and this bookshelf thing over here. It's absolutely amazing. And part of what we also have to do is support our community, especially our senior community. And we have to make sure that they have what they need in terms of services and support. And so this partnership with RAD is just amazing. And I am so grateful for all of those involved, including Bank of America, for underwriting the expenses associated with this major undertaking. But also, this was community. And it involved someone from the community who was just a blessing to our community. This building is dedicated in honor of the late Rachel Townsend, a community advocate, the daughter of Reverend Arnold Townsend, who is also an amazing community advocate, someone who worked her butt off for this community. I mean, the Juneteenth festival wouldn't have even happened all of those years, had it not been for Rachel Townsend. The work that she did to not only support the community, but when her father was sick, she was right there helping to care for him and looking out for him and others in this community. She was one of the sweetest persons you ever want to meet. And the only problem was she never said no to anybody. She never said no. Can you do this, Rachel? Yes. Can you do this, Rachel? What time is it? Can you do this, Rachel? She was there for so many of us in this community, and it is such an honor to choose to name such an amazing place that represents fulfilling a promise to this community. It really means a lot, I know, to Reverend Arnold Townsend, to all of us here in the Western Addition community, especially many of us who have grown up here and worked here, to dedicate this building in her honor. So with that, I'd like to say thank you to everyone involved. Thank you to so many amazing people. Thank you to the residents for your patience through this process and for trusting us to do what we needed to do to make sure that your lives are better for it. This is an amazing community, and I'm honored that I had an opportunity to participate in a small part in making this possible. So thank you, everyone, for being here.
Another speaker I'd like to welcome is District 5 Supervisor, Vallie Brown. Supervisor Brown has a long history advocating for residents in affordable housing in San Francisco, and we are thrilled that she could join us today and celebrate the rehabilitation in a building in her backyard. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mayor Breed. Reminds me when we met over 15 years ago, what really made us bond was housing security, with how she grew up and what happened to her family when they rebuilt Plaza East and people didn't have a place to come back to. and my experience of never really having a stable home growing up and being evicted and living in all kinds of alternative situations, that you really think about stable housing and stable housing for your loved ones and your community. And, you know, I was here probably 11 years ago in a neighborhood, and actually a resident meeting, and people were talking about the things that they would like to see and their issues. And I remember going into one of the units, and there were some issues. But then I also, when we came back with Mayor Breed, Supervisor Breed at the time, and talking to residents about what they would like to see, and they were very honest with us, and sometimes brutally honest with us, which I personally love. And now to come back and see it like this, and to talk to people like Robert, who had, if you don't mind, homeless for 25 years before you came in here. I mean, this is why we do this work. This is why we get up in the morning. We get beat up all the time. Things that we do is to make sure that we have places for people like Robert and others to come to and to live and to be stable. When you're a senior, you're disabled, this city is cruel and it's hard. And so we need places like this and other affordable housing. And I am dedicated to make sure that we have affordable housing and preserve affordable housing so people can stay in place, and then people like Robert have a place. So important. I definitely want to talk about Rachel Townsend. 2 words describe Rachel. Both of them start with a C. Cowgirl and community. Those 2 words. If anybody knew Rachel, she loved horses. She loved the community. And sometimes she was able to put those together. Like in Juneteenth when we'd have the black cowboys there. It was amazing. And she would teach kids how to ride. She would teach kids, city kids that had never been around a horse their whole life, that they didn't have to be afraid, that these magnificent beasts could actually be their friend. And she was pretty amazing. I had worked with her for years through Juneteenth, and believe me, Rachel and I sometimes would go at it. I mean, yes, she was always yes, but she always just stood her ground because that's who she was. She knew herself, she knew the community, and I always respected her for that. The last conversation I had with Rachel, we were talking about housing. You know, Rachel grew, you know, this was her community, but guess what? She didn't live here. She was pushed out of San Francisco. She couldn't afford it. And we talked about her getting into the affordable housing pipeline, how to do that. Did she make enough money? She didn't, you know, it costs, you have to make as a single person $47,600 a year to qualify for our affordable housing. And she worried about that because she worked all kinds of jobs to support herself. And I remember having the biggest fight with her and saying, you need to apply, just apply and we'll figure it out. And now that there's actually a place, a home named after her, it's kind of ironic when she didn't have a home here. Yes. So today, in memory of Rachel Townsend, I am happy that we're dedicating this beautiful building for everybody that else was vulnerable, just like Rachel. And I want to thank Gail Gilman, who came up and really said, hey, we have an idea. Reverend Townsend saying, yeah, I love your idea. And Rachel's mother and her newfound sister that she never knew. So thank you, everyone, for making this happen. And thank you for the community that would come here, take time out of your day. Rachel would be so happy to look around and see all of you that you came here, because I know a lot of you came here today and what she stood for, because she stood for community, and that was her #1 thing. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to give it back to, I think, Gail, right?
Hi, well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for being here today. My name is Daniel Potter, and I'm the project manager with Community Housing Partnership, and I've been working on this building for the last year and a half. One of the favorite parts of my job is working with the incredible group of funders who came together to make this project possible. And now I have the great pleasure of introducing Heidi Richerla with Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Bank of America has been an incredible funding partner for this project, and we couldn't have done it without them. So please welcome Heidi.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and tremendous thank you to all of our distinguished guests, Mayor Breed, Supervisor Brown, and foremost, all of the residents of 1750 McAllister. I am honored to be here representing over 4,000 teammates in San Francisco and the East Bay, and it means so much to us because this is where we started as a little pipsqueak bank called Bank of Italy, founded by Italian immigrant A.P. Giannini. And it really was about making sure we helped bank the underserved, the minorities, the women, those that weren't part of the mainstream. And over the next 100 years, we've been with the city through good and bad. And so when we had a mayor and a supervisor who were this passionate about public housing and came to us with this rad idea, and the bank stepped up big time because it was a passion project. It wasn't just about making the numbers work. It was about truly investing in the community. And what I'm so proud to share with all of you is everybody here knows West Coast is the best coast, right? And San Francisco is its crown jewel. But for us at Bank of America, investing in our community development banking, about $4.5 billion across the country. But wait, $2.2 billion here in San Francisco. And so I'm proud to share that with all of you, but those are ultimately just numbers, and it's really about the people here at 1750 McAllister, at over 29 properties across the city through SFRAD, and what it means to us to really be a part of the community in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, HUD, all of our partners, but ultimately we're proud of who we are and who we have the opportunity to be in partnership with the city and the County of San Francisco. So again, thank you and congratulations. I got to hear from several of the residents. One complained about noise, too many dogs, too much music. But I said, you know what? That's a great problem to have when it's in your new community. So again, congratulations to everybody, and thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of it today.
Okay, so one of my other favorite parts of working on this project has been building relationships with the amazing residents in this building. And today we're lucky enough to have one of those residents here with us. Robert Matheson has been in the building for the last 11 years. And I've just really enjoyed getting to work with him and the other residents, and they've really taught me so much. So I'd like to welcome up Robert to say a few words about the transformation the building has undergone.
Mayor Breed, and other honored guests, welcome to our newly renovated home. I can't speak for other residents of 1750 McAllister. However, I can articulate the importance of a clean, safe living environment. As a disabled man who pulled himself out of the gutter of over 25 years of chronic homelessness, I can say that Community Housing Partnership proved to me that if you have hope, you're never a lost cause. Community Housing Partnership, and in particular, the staff of 1750 McAllister, replaced fear of the San Francisco Housing Authority with respect and kindness that everyone deserves, no matter how low on society's totem pole you are. I have come from the dangerous halls of New York City's shelter system where predators roam, to a home that uplifted my formerly low self-esteem to a new beginning where I can strive to achieve a high school diploma as a student at the Adult Learning and Tutorial Center at Community College of San Francisco. Thank you, Community Housing Partnership, for letting me know that I was never a lost cause, because you gave me hope for a brighter future in my wonderfully renovated home on the 10th floor of 1750 McAllister. Thank you.
So we have one speaker left who I have the honor to introduce. But before I do that, I want to actually, the theme of community has been spoken a lot today, and we're all interconnected. Where I was born and lived the first 10 years of my life in the Bronx, I played at the same park that Robert walked his dog. So that to me is interconnectedness. And as most of you know, I grew up in affordable housing in New York City, and finding stable places to live, and even when I moved here in 1994 was what gave me the opportunity to go to college, go to school, and now have this incredible honor to lead this organization that's changing the lives of so many people. One person, though, who changed my life when I first got here, who I've known over a decade, was Reverend Arnold Townsend. And I am, yes, I think, yes. And I'm actually deeply embarrassed to say that I actually never met Rachel. My only interaction was through Facebook posts from Reverend Townsend, our lunches when he spoke of her. So I never had that honor. But Reverend Townsend helped Community Housing Partnership gain community acceptance for the first 100% supportive housing ever to be cited in what I'm still going to call the Western Addition, but we now call Hayes Valley. Dr. Ray and Julian Richardson Apartments, which opened in 2011. He helped us with Zigmund Rent when we decided to bid on that project, and he rallied the Western Addition community around this little nonprofit that was known to only mostly working in the Tenderloin and building housing for formerly homeless individuals and families. And he made me always come out to Fillmore Street to see him, and we'd have lunch. And so I am so deeply honored that I had the ability, the foresight, and had this opportunity to dedicate this building after Reverend Arnold Townsend's daughter, Rachel Townsend. This will now be the Rachel Townsend Apartments, and I am so honored that this man's in my life. So let's welcome Reverend Townsend.
Thank you. This is, first of all, let me apologize. I thought I would be better and a little tougher today, and would not be shedding so many tears. But now, don't misunderstand. I'm crying. I'm still tough, so don't be trying to take liberties when we get out of here. But this is just overwhelming. It's amazing to me. Let me do this right, first of all. To our honorable and esteemed mayor, I don't think I need to do for her, or most of you, go into how I feel about her. Number one, as a person and as my friend. Let me tell you, if you don't know, everything she says about caring for people, she absolutely means. I'm sorry. This is. Let me put it this way. When our former mayor Willie Brown received the Spingarn Medal, I was in San Antonio because one of the high points of my year every year is I go to the NAACP convention, and I would recommend everyone in this room, no matter what color you are, religion, or anything else, you ought to see at least one of those conventions before you die. You haven't seen much like it. Thousands of African American folk there, and it's a working convention. They get things done and prepare for the work in the coming year. So please think about that. But I was there in San Antonio when he got the award. Former President Clinton introduced him, and then the mayor spoke as he does. But after he got through, Eddie Levert was the entertainment from the OJs. And in his performance, he says, now I'm going to, y'all know it's hard for me. I'm going to try to make this quick as possible. Because when you're last on the program, I know that all of you really want me to do is hurry up. So I'm going to try my best to hurry up. But so Eddie does a set of Levert, his son's music. And as he was getting ready to go into that, he explained how both his sons passed within 18 months of each other. And he said something that helped me process verbally what you're feeling in a situation with the loss of a child. He said, every time it comes up, whether it just comes in your mind or people bring it up, and people can bring it up, you can bring her up to me anytime you want. I understand. We're all processing it. But he said, every time it comes up, the wound reopens. And every time the wound opens, it bleeds. And that is the perfect description of what so many of us in this room are feeling. Let me just make some real quick introductions. If I don't get to everybody, I know you were important to Rachel, and you know you were. It's just like I said, they want me to hurry up. But first of all, let me introduce Rachel's mom, Susan Hayes Smith. She's here. Whatever I did helped to make Rachel who she was, she did more, because she put up with her every day when she wasn't with me. And Mark, her oldest brother, Mark Hayes, sitting next to his mom, he laughed. He laughed because he knows what Rachel was like. She was nice to all of you all. The rest of us in the family are a little different. I told a young man once who said he was interested in my daughter, I said, well, Doc, all I'm going to tell you is that if you are going to, holler at Rachel, I can tell you what they tell the boxers when the fight starts: protect yourself at all times. Because I love her, but I wouldn't date her. That's just who she was. And then let me say, Gail was here somewhere, another brother. There are others who couldn't make it today, but some of Rachel's dear friends, her pastor, Reverend Davis, is here. Our pastor is here. I also, Vallie already started it. Let me introduce again Rachel's sister that she never met, Natalie Douglas. Whenever you're in New York or anywhere, check the entertainment book or go on her page. Natalie Douglas is quite a singer. She's professionally a jazz singer, but we found out Sunday she don't do bad with gospel either. She sung at our church Sunday before I preached. My dear friend and one of my best friends in the world, Brenda Jackson, is here. Billy Joe, Natalie's husband. Wave your hand, Billy. So I got a new son out of the process, as well as a daughter. One of Rachel's other brothers, Corey Jackson, is here, and Brenda's son. And he's got my new grandbaby, Emma Rose, in his hands. And Nadia is down there on the floor. She's the big girl. And so many of you others who are here, I see friends go back. I saw Tim Toston, Bill Whitty, and Thurman White. And I've got friend Thurman has two boys. Rachel was in between them age-wise. They used to play together when they were little. It's just some wonderful, wonderful associations. And I wish I had time to. Oh, I got to introduce Akelia. Raise your hand. Now, there used to be 3 girls that Evan, when they was in Oakland, they handled it, Doc. I'm telling you, they handled it. And it was Rachel, AK, and Masako. And Masako couldn't make a day. She couldn't get off work. Those 3 have been together since the 2nd grade. And they all call me Pops. They've all loved me and taken care of me. Right after Rachel, not long, a couple of weeks after, maybe a month, AK and Akelia picked me up and took me to dinner and just to love on me for a while. And the really exciting thing is when they were starting in 2nd grade till about the 4th or 5th, I was a designated field trip parent, if you can imagine that. Everyone entrusted their kids with me, and I did grab a little boy by the neck one day and thought, sure, I was getting ready to get prosecuted, but you know, I'm old school. Anyway, let me just do this real quick. When we did a summer program for London, we were supposed to have 35 children. We ended up with 150. So that meant me and Reverend Davis had to be there every day. That was not how we planned to spend our summer. And when they would ask me, Reverend Townsend, what you teach in the program? I said, I teach boy, girl, sit down and hush 101. And let me say this. If you can't do it, find somebody who can, because our children still need to be taught that there's a time for them to sit down and hush and learn something. And you're not being mean. You're loving them. You're loving them. You love them enough to care whether they don't like you or not for the moment. So anyway, I'm at the Chinatown dinner with my good friend. It's a CCDC dinner with my good friend Norman Fong. And where's Malcolm? Malcolm Young is here. And I'm at the dinner, and I'm walking across the floor going to the men's room, because when you're my age, you go a lot. And Gail Gilman, who I just adore, not as a human being and as the work that they do, is just amazing. That called them to see if somebody at management can give you a tour, housing for the chronically homeless, but they didn't build it like they were building housing for the chronically homeless. They built it like they were building it for human beings to live in, thrive, prosper, and grow. And that's how they... Just because people are poor, when you do something for them, you don't have to make them feel like it. Just do it. And so I'm walking across the floor. Gail grabs me. Hey, how are you? Happy to see her anytime. She says, Reverend, we talked for a minute. She says, Reverend, I want to ask you something. We just finished 1750. We're just about through. And we want to name it for somebody in the community, in the Fillmore. Not thinking about what gentrification means. This is still the Fillmore. It's not, you know. And she said, she said, and we want to name it. We thought maybe you could help us figure it out. And I said, sure. Let's get together next week, and I'll talk to Amos Brown and a few other folk, and we'll come up with something, no problem. She said, well, really, Reverend, we'd like to know if we could name it after your daughter. And I did then what I'm doing now. I was so honored and so touched that it was hard for me to respond. I said, that's wonderful, but I do. I make the call, that's my baby. But I said, I have to talk to her mom and the rest of the folks. I call Mark and call, but I'm sorry, I started to say Bubba, I mean James O'Donnell. She, one of her nephews, another grandson. If you're ever in Fresno, eat lunch or dinner at Cocky's, that's his place, wonderful place. I got to put a plug in, because if not, he might have to borrow some money from me. So help him out. Help him out. Help all of them out. So help all of them out. And so everybody thought it was a great idea, and we did it. And that someone would be so caring and so concerned, and believe so much in understanding the community they're working in. They don't just come plant a building and now they're gone and they get the rents off of it and build their company. But they stay with you once the construction is over. They are as involved, if not more involved, day to day as they were when they were building it. And those are the kind of people that we need. And I'll just tell this real quick. When they came to us, I was the president of CAC during the redevelopment process at that time. When CHP when they were going to build that, we kind of went back and forth a little bit, and we said no because we didn't. Well, the director of redevelopment at that time, they brought it to us. We liked it, but then they didn't bring it back to us for final approval before she put it on the agenda. The names will go unmentioned, but if you count back, those of you in the city can figure out who it was. And so we went off. Mayor Breed was on the commission at the time. We went off, and you could see that the commission was already leaning in our direction, but the director kept fighting to try to get it through. And Jeff Kositsky, who was there at the time, at CHP at the time, stood up and said, Ms. Rosen, thank you for supporting us. But we're not that kind of organization. We don't impose ourselves in people's communities. And if the community doesn't want us, not ready for us, we don't want to go forward till they're comfortable. People don't do that when they're looking at a multi-million-dollar opportunity. But they said, no, we'll wait, put it back out to bid. And then he turned around and said, now, Reverend Townsend, we're going to bid again. I just want you to know that. And so he and I went to lunch and we talked, Light and Gail. Then when they got ready to go again, they brought in their staff, much of their staff. And their staff had to be 70, 80% black folk who came, the Baylarks who grew up in church with us. Their son worked on the project. And a couple of other people that we knew from the neighborhood. And I told Jeff or you, I don't know who, why didn't you do this in the first damn place and we wouldn't have had to go through all this? You know, we didn't know. And we knew exactly what kind of organization. And then they built it. And as I just told you, they did a magnificent job. So CHP, Community Housing Partnership, that's not the Highway Patrol. Remember them. Hey, Jeff, remember them. I just said hello to Jeff Buckley, one of the mayor's people that does housing. Joaquin Torres is here. Dr. Amos C. Brown, who has already been mentioned, who's a friend, a brother, a mentor. My president, he's president of the NAACP. I have the privilege to serve as his vice president, which wasn't probably the smartest decision I ever made. Because if you work with Amos, the operative word is work. Amen. And one of the most insightful human beings I've ever known in my life. We will be in a meeting. You know I'm telling the truth. The meeting is going well. We finished the meeting. Everybody's in agreement. We're ready to go. And Dr. Brown says, wait a minute. Everybody said, oh, Lord. And Amos says very simply, and this is Mississippi stuff, Reverend Davis, you might know about this. You from Mississippi. It said, if everybody in the room agree, somebody ain't thinking. And we got to sit down and go over it again. And by the time we get through it, he was right. There were some things left undone. So it's been a privilege, and the fact that he's here shows the kind of support that he gives. Melody and Melora Green, who run the African American Art and Cultural Complex, does such a wonderful job. Todd Clater, DeAnthony, I see you. Evan Ward, I see you. Paul Domingo, he and Rachel were buddies. I was always amazed how many of my friends that Rachel was friends with that I didn't know they didn't meet through me, but they became friends on their own. So we are grateful. The family thanks you so much. And since CHP, since you're in this for the duration, I just want you to know that this family is in this thing for the duration. Our human rights head, Cheryl Davis, I just saw her. She's here somewhere. So many of you that I know and love so dearly, you have once again expressed your love for me and my family. And I cannot thank you enough for the kindness that has been shown to us through this process. I love you all so much. Kiana, thank you. Oh, Danielle Banks, thank you so much. They worked together, ran together, did all kinds of stuff together. And I just thank you all so much. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
So Community Housing Partnership wants to present this. This is what we will be hanging here at the property. Oh, this is for you, Reverend Townsend. See, I don't know anything. My staff knows absolutely everything.
Oh.
And this is for your...
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you so much.
Do you want to come up? Okay. So in memory of Rachel Townsend for her devotion to the Bay Area community and for helping provide a voice to the voiceless, we dedicate the Rachel Townsend Apartments in her honor on December 19th, 2018.
Let me say one other thing, because I didn't quite say enough, and somebody just said, really? But I just want to do another real quick thank you to Susan Hayes-Smith, Rachel's mother, because not only did we share in this wonderful, amazing daughter, I was always amazed at the kind of stuff that she could do, and a lot of it was absolutely, must be from her mother's side, or my parents, because it skipped me, one of the most organized individuals I've ever known. Rachel used to work with us in the NAACP gala every year. And we'd have 600 people there. And somebody could walk up. Now, if it's somebody you know that she knew, that's different. But somebody she doesn't know, walk up and give her a name, and they want to know where they're sitting. And the other people there would look on the thing, and they'd walk up and look at the name, and they'd say, Kate Hartley, or you're table 26. And somebody said, how does she do that? I said, how in the hell am I supposed to know? I can't do it. But she could do that. And so not only did she help and play a major part in raising a wonderful daughter, but she also, and she shared her entire large family with me. To all of her kids, I'm Pops. To all of the grandkids, I'm Pops or Grandpa. And it has been absolutely fulfilling and has helped create so much purpose in our life. And I just want to thank you again and make sure that it's said publicly again. Thank you so much, Susan. I love you. Thank you.
SF Gov TV, San Francisco Government Television.